What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude, and yeah, I just got tired of hair in my face all the time, so I don't know. What do you think? Keep it like this or buzz cut? I don't know, let me know. But so yeah, here we are again, watching the Kremlin tighten the noose, one regulation at a time, around the throats of its own citizens. You think you've seen already the rock bottom? Well, guys, think again, because Putin can always find a way to push further. Every time Russians adjust to some new ban, another ridiculous restriction, or some absurd law, Putin and his crew finds a way to escape a new layer of bedrock and call it governance. This summer, it's not just about tightening screws or isolating extremists, no. This time it's personal. We are talking about WhatsApp. Almost the same what I say in the beginning of the video, but also the same WhatsApp app that practically every Russian uses for work, family, school, emergencies and gossip, and probably you guys do too. That a digital lifeline that connects moms with teachers, businessmen with their staff, and even policemen and their commanders. Now Putin is hinting at cutting that cord completely. Not because of any sudden cyber emergency or a real threat, no, but because it suits his war-fueled obsession with absolute control. The message is clear. Your convenience, your freedom, even your daily communication does not matter. Only his whims do now. And I can personally confirm, speaking with my own babushka, who just finally learned how to use WhatsApp, is no longer possible. Well, guys, let's dig in. Why Putin suddenly decided to poke the bear by targeting WhatsApp? How it ties to the state of perpetual war, why the system is sprinting towards medieval-style autocracy, and why, in the end, Russia is not divided between rich and poor anymore. It's only between Putin and everyone else. Let's start with WhatsApp itself. If you live in Russia, chances that you are rely on it for something essential are huge. Your kids' school updates, your company's group chats, your neighborhood discussions, maybe even a call to your grandmother who lives far away. WhatsApp has been left untouched for years, even while its siblings, Facebook, Meta and Instagram, were blocked back in 2022. The reason? It was simply too deeply ingrained in Russian daily life. Blocking WhatsApp in 2022 would have been political self-destruction. A very questionable war was just started. Partial mobilization was not exactly a huge hit. And then blocking is the most common messenger that is used by at least 100 million Russians. I mean, that's just impossible. And I'm not even exaggerating here. Every single person who I ever met in Russia used WhatsApp. Every single one of them. So banning it is imagine banning oxygen during a heat wave. That's how crazy it would have looked. But now, 3.5 years later into a war that has transformed Russia into a permanent emergency zone, Putin feels bold enough to touch it finally. Especially because other, more important things are happening at the time, let alone those Alaska talks that I'm sure every single one of you guys already heard about in much bigger details. But anyways, of course, he will not say it outright, I want to make your life miserable. No, he dresses it up in his usual political mumbo-jumbo. So here is where enters Anton Gorelkin, United Russia member, tech-phobic dinosaur, who suddenly announced that WhatsApp, quote-unquote, must prepare to leave the Russian market. He says a new Russian-made app called Max will take its place. And the only explanation reasonable enough why it is called Max, it is because it has maximum access to your private conversations. It is almost like speaking out loud while being inside the FSB building, right next to the room of the General Commander, Lieutenant General of the FSB, Army of the Russian Federation. Then another politician, Anton Nemkin, spins the tale even further. WhatsApp is, once again another quote from this person now, is a national security threat. And because no farce is complete without a clown, then designer Artemy Lebedev joins in, demanding WhatsApp be banned like Viber. But let's not kid ourselves, none of these yes-men have the spine to push such a monumental decision on their own. If WhatsApp is destroyed, it is because Putin himself gave the green light. That is what is so significant here. Historically, Putin avoided attaching his name to extremely unpopular decisions. When they raised the retirement age, for example, it was during Medvedev's government that bore all the amount of blame. When partial mobilization then was announced in 2022, Putin framed it as he was just approving the general staff's proposal. He always wanted to have an excuse in case things go south fast, but now he does not care. He puts his name right on this poison pill. Putin is not just cutting WhatsApp, he's cutting the last pretense that your daily comfort matters to him. But why WhatsApp? It's not like Facebook where algorithm can push you a video where Putin is made fun of without you even searching for this video. WhatsApp is just a messenger after all, literally you just text there. Why ban it? Let's try to answer this question in our next chapter. To really understand why Putin is targeting something as sensitive as WhatsApp, you have to understand the system he's building. Think of a firefighter commander who loves fires. Not because he wants to save people, but because fires give him power. No fire means no absolute authority. But what if the fire never ends? He gets to smash doors, take control, issue orders, bark at people, and nobody questions him. That's exactly how Putin treats the war. It does not matter whether Russia wins or loses. Victory would mean ending the conflict, lifting the state of emergency, and suddenly being accountable to public opinion once again. Defeat, on the other hand, would mean humiliation and possibly the collapse of the regime. Neither outcome works for Putin. So the war drags on endlessly, smoldering but almost never fully extinguished, keeping him in a state of unchecked power. And in this permanent blaze, any unpopular action becomes possible. In 2022, blocking YouTube was unthinkable. Tens of millions used it daily. By 2024, they blocked it without hesitation, blaming some kind of technical issues at first, and then not even bothering with excuses at all. Many Russians now do not even bother try to use VPNs at this point because it's just too much work to just watch stupid videos, they say. But in 2025 the stakes are now much higher. Now they are openly saying WhatsApp's days are numbered, and Putin is the one making the call. Why? Because constant war legitimizes constant overreach. Every day the conflict continues, Putin gets another excuse to grab more power, shrug off more responsibility, and erase another slice of normal life. He's not bothered by 145 million Russians who suffer. He's not one of them, definitely not. While everyone else loses freedoms, options, and stability, he collects more of the tree. The WhatsApp move is not really about messaging apps. It's about proving that even the most basic, universal convenience in Russia is expendable if it gets in the way of Putin's endless emergency. The fire must keep burning, and if that means torching communication for the entire nation, well, so be it. Why does Putin need all that? Could there be another reason besides endless and unquestionable power? Let's talk about it in our next chapter. Here is where things get darker. Putin is no longer playing by the rules of the 21st century leader. In fact, he's regressing, dragging the country back not even to Soviet Union, but to the 16th century. People often compare him to Stalin, but that's giving him too much credit. Stalin, Putin. Stalin, at least in theory, promised a future, some kind of it. Industrialization, communism, progress. His brutality was wrapped in a vision, however false was it. Putin, on the other hand, does not even bother with that anymore. His vision is not about the future at all. It's about eternal suffering at the present. Make do and procreate. That is his offer. Years of war, years of scarcity, years of obedience. Well, get used to it. Tough times unite people around strong leader. That's what he thinks. Blocking WhatsApp is a perfect example of this mindset. It's not just about silencing dissent or controlling narratives. It's about making life deliberately worse for everyone. Teachers, once again, doctors, police officers, politicians, ordinary parents. Everyone relies on WhatsApp. Cutting it means reminding every single Russian that their convenience, their routines, their tiny semblance of experiencing the pleasures of modern life hangs by Putin's thread. That's pure Tsarist logic. The ruler's personal whim outweighs the comfort of suffering of millions. Ivan the Terrible ruled this way, guided not by law but by paranoia and cruelty. Putin is slipping into that same mold, not legally and as an absolute monarch, not yet, but in practice becoming one. And once a ruler discovers he can dismantle normal life without sparking a revolution, what's there left to stop him then? Today it's WhatsApp, tomorrow it could be banking apps, food deliveries, even GPS, anything. Anything that makes modern life bearable is vulnerable now. By linking the war to every aspect of daily existence, Putin transforms Russia into his personal sandbox of suffering, where his citizens are not people, they are expendables. So what does this all mean for Russians themselves? The terrifying truth is that the country is no longer divided by wealth, status, or connections, at least not that much anymore. In the past, you could argue there were two Russias, one for the elites in Moscow and St. Petersburg, another for the forgotten poor in Taiga, in Siberia, Dagestan, regions like this. But now, Putin has leveled the playing field in the worst way possible. The WhatsApp ban targets everyone equally. Medical workers, governors, policemen, teachers, oligarchs, shop clerks, parents, everyone. The loss of human rights can feel abstract for many, but when your messaging app stops working and you cannot even check on your child or talk to your boss, well, it hits home instantly. You feel the consequences right away. It reminds you that in this Russia, nobody is untouchable. Then there is Putin, sitting above the chaos, insulated, untouchable, the only person probably, ruling by his own unpredictable whims. And then there is everyone else, from the poorest villagers to the richest ministers, forced into the very same sinking boat. Even oligarchs, once considered immune, now find their lives inconvenienced by the same bans, the same restrictions. You cannot bribe your way into making WhatsApp work just for you. I mean, who would you even then text if it only works for you, right? You cannot buy a separate internet. Putin's Russia has become a single-tier prison camp where privilege means nothing compared to the ruler's sole arbitrary decisions. This is the final irony. We call the people who oppose Putin the opposition, but if 145 million people want to live without fear, to enjoy the basic conveniences like messaging apps, and only one person blocks it all, then, well, who really is in opposition to whom? The truth is obvious. Putin is not ruling Russia anymore. He's opposing it. He wants it to be gone. He does not want it to develop. He does not want future for Russia. He's set himself against the entire country, reducing everyone else to hostages of his ego. The WhatsApp ban is not just another regulation. It is the mask ripped off finally. It is Putin telling his citizens outright, I decide what you use, what you see, how you live. Your comfort does not matter. Your daily life does not matter. Only my grip on power does. In 2022, he still hid behind excuses, institutions, and technicalities. By 2025, he doesn't bother. He's the modern Tsar, signing his name to every unpopular decision, daring his people to resist. And fortunately for him, Russians never showed much resistance in the last decade. They just don't think their voices matter, and unfortunately, Putin absolutely loves it. But here's the catch. Unlike Ivan the Terrible, Putin does not sit on a throne of divine right. He sits on the fragile combination of war, paranoia, and fear. And as much as he needs the war to continue to justify his rule, history shows no fire burns forever. Sooner or later, the blaze consumes the pyromaniac too. Until then, Russians will keep losing not just their rights, but their basic tools of living, like once again WhatsApp. And one morning, when the bars disappear from the phones completely, they will realize it was not just about an app. It was about their country, burned away piece by piece, until only one man's shadow remains. Well, there you have it, guys. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. If you wish to support my work, the links down below, for example, PayPal and Patreon. On Patreon, you can see additional chapter and the end of each episode. The link is down below. Thanks so much for watching. See you tomorrow.
We won't succumb to their tricks, the facade they try to sell. Their twisted words and feeble claims on us all they cannot quell. We see through their lies, their feeble attempts to sway. We do not believe